Welcome into the lounge. We have the pleasure today, Garrett, of being joined by Calais Campbell. Now, we've already had Calais on the pod. This is his second time in like 3 months, something like that. We had him on at the start of coronavirus
Yeah.
when we all like went into lockdown. He was one of our first guests. So
Yeah.
now we're just rolling right through the Rolodex a second time.
Well, at the time, it was like, we'll probably see you in person in a couple of weeks, Calais.
Yeah.
Great to meet you. Over video here. We'll see you in person in a couple of weeks. Obviously, that's not been the case.
Yeah.
But that first week, it was just basically all about why he signed. And now there's been a lot that's happened, and it'll be good to get his perspective about the upcoming season and meeting his new teammates and how that's gone virtually. I'm kind of curious to get his perspective on just what it's like as a leader to come into a new place and then not actually be able to meet anyone in person. That's a bit of a weird dynamic. But before we welcome in Calais, I want everyone to know that if you've been reading the scouting reports, Ram trucks are Motor Trend's back-to-back truck of the year. The Ram 1500 is the top pick with an available Hemi V8 engine, e-torque hybrid technology, and a 12-inch touchscreen. Plus, it offers a truckload of available features. Same with a hardworking Ram 3500 heavy duty. So for generous cash allowances and great lease offers, go to ram.com and take advantage of all the great deals going on right now on the great selection of Ram trucks. So thank you to our friends from Ram. And now let's go ahead and jump into our conversation and welcome in Calais Campbell.
Well, welcome in, Calais. Happy to have you for a second time, man. You are like lounge royalty at this point. Although we brought up before we called you up, we brought up that we probably last time when we had you on shortly after you signed, we were like, all right, man, well, we'll see you in the facility in probably not too long. I can't wait to meet you in person. Still waiting on that one.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, who knows when it's going to be? Hopefully sooner than later, because I feel like this team got a chance to be special. So can't wait to get to work.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, let's start off. I mean, I want to talk about just how weird it's been this offseason for a guy who joins a new team to do this all virtually, and a leader on the team, not just, you're not just some guy, I mean, you're a leader on this team, and to do that virtually, how do you do that?
I mean, honestly, there's not much you can do right now. Just trying to, bring the guys together. I think the coaches did a really good job of keeping the meetings kind of for, asking questions to different players, getting a chance for everybody to get to know each other. And then they brought in good speakers and stuff, and so that was cool. But essentially, I mean, the biggest thing is just just trying to do the best I can. Showing up every day and being prepared and answering questions. I guess the number one way to be a leader is to lead by example.
Do you feel like you know your new teammates yet? Like, because it's hard. We've all been in these video conference calls. It's hard to have any conversations. And so much of the time, it's the conversations that you have at lunch or in the locker room where you really build those bonds and those friendships. Like, do you feel like you know the guys, particularly ones that you didn't have any relationship with before, get traded to Baltimore?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to know guys better than I did before, but not to the level that I would like to. But there's enough time, as long as we get in the building, I feel like we'd be able to build a bond. But I mean, obviously, being in the building, getting to lunchtime, getting there early, leaving, walking out together. I mean, that's where those relationships are really made. And, not having that this year, makes it a little more complicated. But at the same time, you got to use what's at your disposal to get what you want. And so, I've had a couple phone conversations with a couple guys and stuff like that. So, I feel like we're building a bond. Just it's different.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, so what's it been like in the virtual meetings? Like, how do you feel like you're picking up this defense coming into it and having to learn it all in this really unique way?
Well, I mean, you have to go over it a couple times, and I've always been a fairly quick study. And I think my experience plays a big role. I feel bad for the rookies and some of the younger guys who have to learn a new system because I mean, you need those reps, walkthrough reps, and like I mean, everybody learns different. All we have right now is kind of a screen and somebody talking to you, so it's kind of tough. But I will say that I think I have a good grasp on the defense. I feel like I have a good grasp of how the coaches want to use me, where I can add value. So I'm pretty excited. But for the young guys, man, I feel real terrible for them.
Yeah, we were actually talking to Robert Griffin the other day, and he was saying just like, man, I love these rookies. I love the guy. Like, he's been working out with a couple guys, and he's like, I think they're great players, but to expect something from them this year, like a big impact, like that's asking a lot given the time lost. Do you kind of sense the same thing?
Without a doubt. I mean, I've always kind of been one of those guys where like you might get one rookie, maybe two if they just develop fast. But
Right.
I don't really like depending on rookies if I don't have to in the general sense. But then there comes a couple guys around that who are special, and I'm hoping that we have a couple guys like that who are going to play well for us this year. But it's going to be more complicated than usual. But I think if they got the juice, they got the juice. So I don't think this OTA period was going to hold them up too much if they got it. So.
Well, in terms of those rookies, so last time we talked to you, it was right after you came to Baltimore. It was in March, and then in April they go and use a couple of early draft picks on linebackers. It just seems like this offseason, the defense with you and Wolf and those linebackers is just, and it was the top 5 defense last year, has taken a big leap, certainly on paper from where they were last year. Are you just really fired up about what this defense can do, knowing with the additions of you and Derek, and then the young guys in this group overall?
Yeah, I mean, we have to find time to gel. And, this whole offseason is going to, we probably have to, it's probably going to build as we go along. And hopefully we play our best ball towards the end of the season. But I do think that we have enough experience coming in with Wolf and myself where, we've been around. So I think we should be able to go pretty fast. But I do think with the rookies, if they have to step in and play right away, which I think is going to be the case from when you watch the interviews and stuff. And they're pretty smart. You could tell that they're picking up things fast, but they're still rookies, and so you gotta give them time to mature. And so hopefully, week 7, week 8, they're playing great ball. But to expect to be great at week 1, we'll be very, very lucky. I mean, they might be one of the best draft picks in all time if that's the case. But you never know. I mean, I'm hoping. But I do think that this defense has a lot of good pieces who've been there for a long time. Guys who've played with Wink as the coordinator, got a feel for him. And so I feel like there is definitely going to be, we're going to be a great defense, but I do want to make sure that we take it one day at a time and earn our stripes. We can't just, expect to show up and, teams are going to respect us. We have to earn it each and every day.
What do you think of Wink's defense? You said how, you have a good idea how they're going to use them. That means, you're lining up wide, just getting after the quarterback, right? It's full-time Calais. Get after, we want to pad the sack numbers, right? Is that what it is?
Oh, no, I mean, I pride myself on being very, very versatile. I can play a lot of places. I do think that, that adds value in the blitz heavy type of scheme because then you can put me in different positions. I can drop. I don't know if Wink thinks I could drop yet, but I'd much rather prefer going forward though. Every once in a while, drop me back in coverage. I might catch a pick. I do got 3 in my career.
I was going to say, do you have any picks? You do have 3, huh?
3 picks, yeah. Okay. I intercepted Peyton Manning, so I'm just saying,
Hey, there's a lot of safeties and corners that played a long time, never intercepted Peyton Manning, so you got something on him.
Yeah, I never sacked him, though. He was the one guy on my list of those greats that I didn't get to sack, so I guess I got to take that as a consolation prize.
So what do you think of Wink's defense overall, Calais?
I love it. I think that he's a brilliant mind. He understands how to put his players in position to be successful. I think he's creative. So I mean, when you start put on the tape, he's doing something different all the time. And then the way he kind of put it together, he simplified it for the players, which I think is most important because you can be real creative, but if the players can't grasp it, then that makes it tough. So I think the real art is how he made it where we can understand it and be able to go out there and execute it. So, it's a great defense. I'm excited to go out there and try to make Wink, try to pad his stats a little bit for him.
So you said at the top that part of the reason you want to get to work and get the season started is because you feel like this team has the chance to be something special. And there's a million different reasons why we all want football to come back and have a season and all of that. We're all keeping our fingers crossed that everything moves in that direction. But is there a sense in your mind that you just want to, part of the reason that you want to play so badly is because you feel like this is a team, like you're in Baltimore to win a Super Bowl. Like you've talked about that before. Like you feel like this team could do it. You want to do it. That's how I feel. I'm like, I want to make sure we have a season because this team could be so good. And it sounds like you kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, without a doubt. I feel like, it will be very, bad fortune if we don't get to finish the season, because of COVID. If we can follow the rules and lock in and be able to have a full, complete season, I feel like the team that the Baltimore Ravens have built has every opportunity to be a Super Bowl champ, and to win it all. and it would be a shame if if that opportunity is wasted. So for me, I really want to take advantage of this year. But the hard part is that you got what 600 players, and really usually it's about 2,000 players a year. Who are on the team, or on a team at some point in time throughout the season, and you have to count on all those guys to follow the rules and to make sure they are pretty much separating from people and trying to keep the locker room safe to get through a whole season. And that's the scary part, because it's really going to be an honor system, but we have to do what we have to do, and we're going to try, and hopefully we can get through a whole season and go out there, and when it's all said and done, I get to kiss that Lombardi trophy, man. That's the goal.
Well, you have a 10-week-old baby at home, your first child, so you're not going anywhere anyway, right?
Well, yeah, me, you don't have to worry about me too much, but I mean, he's not going to so, but you do have, dads who have kids who are in school that you have to worry about. Sometimes mom works and is out of the house, and then sometimes guys just want to go out to a restaurant, or even guys who are single and they, have, you have to, whoever if you have a friend that comes by, you have to worry about wherever they've been, So to me, it's kind of it's going to be a lot of moving parts, but hopefully we can make it work, because I feel like this year could be very, very special.
Do you guys do any enforcing of each other, like players, like, mandatory masks for Zoom meetings just to get in the habit of it?
That's a good idea. I do think that we're going to have to really police each other, hold each other accountable, and be there for our teammates, because, essentially, if one guy gets sick and he gets into the locker room, he can affect the whole season. So I think that's this is the ultimate sacrifice for the team, for the greater good, kind of situation. So for us to be able to go out there and play football, guys have to be willing to sacrifice.
Is that something that you feel like needs to be said to players, young players on the team,
or
it does? Or, yeah.
I mean, I'm cut from the cloth of repetition over and over again. Say it all the time, speak it. So you can remember yourself. I mean, before every play, I'm thinking about my assignment, what I have to do. I'm echoing in my mind. So I think it's the same thing, especially with young guys, is just keep reminding them. Sacrifice for the team. Do what's required so we go out here and win football games.
Well, and to be honest, I mean, this season, as long as it kicks off and everything goes as we expect, I mean, heck, the last team standing might just be the team. It's just as much about talent as it is player availability.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could be a great team, and if you have one important player get sick, then, the worst team might beat you. So, I mean, that's a huge part of the equation this year.
I agree. It really is. You have to, like, this year might be one of those years where if players are close, you want to get the more responsible one. Even when it comes down to getting to that 53 roster, when it's close, you got to get the one who's most responsible. But, hopefully guys will all lock in, and this year will be different than most. I mean, hopefully it'll be a 1-year thing where we all have to sacrifice and then we go back to normal life next season.
Yeah, let's hope. So we're going to ask you about that 10-week-old now. How's fatherhood going for you?
It's been incredible. I've been on top of the moon, just enjoying every day. I think that's one of the few blessings in disguise from this whole situation, is I get to be at home and watch him grow. I still go and get my workout in and do everything, but when I come home, I get just, sit here, and I mean, every day he's getting bigger and bigger. He's probably going to be as big as me. And if you want,
that was my next question.
Yeah, he's strong, and he looks going to be a great athlete. So, I mean, following in Dad's footsteps, and maybe one day he'll play for the Ravens.
Were you a big baby?
I was always considered, like, I remember my mom told me when I was 3, I told people I was 6, and everybody believed her because I was as big as 6-year-olds. I'm sure it was the same, before, but I mean, he's literally like bigger than big kids that are 6 months.
Okay.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Wow. How big was he when he was born?
He was 21 inches, but he was skinny. He was 7 pounds and 5 ounces. I think because my wife is so small, he didn't develop as much. But now he's, I think 16 pounds.
Okay.
And, he's like 25 inches. So
he's making up for lost time. What jobs are you on? Like, what night shift are you on? Give me the details here, Calais.
I mean, I change a couple of diapers. My wife is breastfeeding, so I kind of get out of all the heavy lifting. I'll check on them from time to time, but I get to do all the fun stuff. I get to go on the floor, play with them, give them some tummy time, and all that good stuff. But all the heavy lifting, man, my wife is superwoman.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times when guys have kids for the first time, they talk about how it changes their viewpoint, changes their perspective, changes their values. Now, obviously, you're somebody you've been a Walter Payton Man of the Year. It's not like you needed to change your perspective or values, but I am curious how it has shifted just the way you see the world or how you see football and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, he became the most important thing in my life. I mean, before he was born, I had a lot of different things that were important to me, which still are, but they all became, a far back seat to, being able to raise a healthy baby boy. I feel like I do pride myself on having, good character and values and things like that. And I just want to be able to teach him and help him develop to have those, the same kind of character and integrity and high values as well. But to me, I mean, it's the best thing happened in my life. Forget everything else. That's number one.
Mm-hmm. In the Ravens Black Lives Matter video, you kind of referenced it, and I know you talked to your teammates about this, what it feels like to be a black man in America today who has a black son now in America today, and the emotional weight of that. Is that, how often do you find yourself thinking about that and thinking about the talks you're going to have down the road with him, the sad, unfortunate talks?
Yeah, I've thought about it quite a bit. And, it's kind of, one of those things where I'm hoping that, by the time he gets to that age, hopefully there will be a better America, because I do think we have some great momentum going on right now. Mm-hmm. And maybe things will change. I know change takes time, and, some people might never change, but I'm very hopeful. And, but I've put a lot of thought into, having those conversations with them. And just trying to, I mean, I put a lot more time, a lot more weight on my shoulders, trying to, do a lot more to create a better America for him, because, I feel like he deserves the world. He deserves, all the beautiful things in this world. So I'm gonna raise him to be a godly person, and, do unto others as he want done unto himself, and just kind of, take it one day at a time and enjoy the small things.
In addition to this being a unique year with COVID, obviously social justice is, as we're talking about, has obviously been at the forefront of the conversation in the country for the past several weeks. So for you, when you're having conversations with your teammate, and I know that you guys have had plenty of conversations about this and large Zoom meetings, and I'm sure individual conversations on a one-on-one basis, but you've been a vocal piece of that conversation. And when you come into a new team and there's these things that are going on, how important was it for you to take on a vocal role in that entire conversation?
Yeah, I think, leadership, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of like you're chosen for it. I don't think you really choose to be a leader. And, I feel like to much is given, much is required. And, I've been doing a lot of research and trying to, try to be an activist for the past 5 or 6 years. But I've just been learning, and I haven't been doing as much as I think I could have done. And then, this whole situation happened. It's just like, okay, well, now it's time to step up and start speaking more. And, to me, I feel like, I have to tell like the story of me and my brothers, and just, I feel like a lot of the biases come from just lack of knowledge. I feel like a lot of people who have biases against Black people just don't know Black people. They don't know a lot. They only have that stigma that you see from, what's painted, when you're a kid, is on television and the media, over the years, and so I think that, just giving my authentic self to the world, I think is one of the best ways to combat racism, because, I feel like, I was told a lot growing up that I was different, and I understood, they were coming from in the mentality of you're different than the stigma than I thought Black people were. You're different than what I thought how you would be being an athlete and being this big, strong Black guy. And I realized that they, the people were telling me that they just said no, because I have a lot of friends who are black who are just like me. My brothers just like me. And I don't think I'm much different at all. I mean, I feel like I'm just average guy. That's working really hard to be great at football and to make a difference in the world. But I feel like if I go down all my list of friends, they do the same thing. God bless me to have this great career with a lot of influence. And I hope to capitalize on it and really create some positive change.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the momentum will keep going from the NFL, from teams around the league, from players?
It has to.
And how do you
it
do
has
that?
To. I think that the best thing that we can do to make sure that happens is that players like myself have to hold the NFL accountable. We have to stay on top of our white teammates to help us as well. Because I think the biggest difference between now and any time in the past was that you have a lot more white people who are speaking up and becoming anti-racist. I feel like, there's always been a lot of people in the circles where I have black friends who would, we have these conversations all the time. Since I was young, we've had conversations about racism. But now, and I've had a few, but now a whole lot more conversations with my white friends who are now asking what they can do, and not only what they can do, but they're giving great insight on different things that can be done. And I think that's very powerful because I have some friends who are very, very smart and very, very capable of doing great things. And so I've been leaning on them for advice on how to get positive change. And it's gonna take some time, but I feel like that's what's encouraging about right now is that we have a lot more people who are not black who are speaking up for issues, for some of the oppression that black people are experiencing. And I feel like the NFL has that stronger responsibility, seeing how that 80% of the product, 80% of the players are African American, and so I feel like the NFL ownership has to continue to tell our stories and to change the stigma on black people as a whole.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was awesome. One thing that you recently did was donating a lot of laptops to Baltimore City schools, to kids who needed those laptops to continue to learn online during COVID-19. I mean, it's kind of like two birds with one stone, right? I mean, you're helping kids on the COVID front, you're helping kids that really, I mean, COVID is kind of exposing even more so the disparities that we have in our society. And can you just talk about a little bit about that and why you felt so impassioned to do that specific work?
Yeah, I've got a lot of plans to do a lot of stuff in Baltimore, and I've been working with my team on trying to figure out the best way to be efficient and help the most people in the best way. And with the computers and the laptops, I think that was, like you said, the COVID situation opened up a lot of issues that a lot of kids are experiencing. And so, donating laptops that's easy, because essentially, there are kids out there who have to work remotely from home, but they don't have the tools to go out there and do it. So, arming the kids with the tools, that was number one. I've also, donated to help small businesses, who are struggling, trying to survive during this time where they're not getting a lot of business. I've all kinds of plans and stuff I want to do in the near future. But it really just comes down to having a great team around me and just leaning on them and trying to partner with the right people, and so essentially I feel like, the only way to really make a difference in this world is roll your sleeves up and start, putting in, sweat equity, start putting resources, up and essentially right now, since you can't be there, daily, or make a difference, it's easier to, put some money up and put in the right places. But, you should continue to expect more things from me. I have, big goals to help a lot of people, but at the end of the day, it's just one day at a time.
So you've been involved in the community throughout your career and helped people in the different cities that you played. And obviously when you're going to a new team, the first thing that you're thinking about is football and excelling in that area. But I am curious, were you excited about the fact that when you come to Baltimore, it's a city that has a reputation nationally that it needs support? And having lived in the city, it certainly does. But was that part of your excitement, or was that something that you were excited about and motivated about, that you came to a city where you felt like needs help and that you could provide it?
Yeah, now obviously I can only do so much, and
right.
I feel like I wish I could do so much more. But at the same time, I feel like I have a lot of value to add. The hard part with going to a new city though and going to a new team is so much of my time is going to have to go into trying to be the best football player I can be, especially with all the new things that trying to, literally, learn a new playbook and trying to, get to know my teammates and to be able to, do all the stuff I need to do to be able to play football at a high level is going to take away from some of the stuff I do in the community this first year. I think the second year is where I probably make, a lot more strides, but I do want to, I think that, as I've gotten older, I've learned how to do things more efficiently. And I think now it's partnering with people who are already doing a great job and just adding resources, adding exposure and then, putting in some time. But I think in year two is where I would probably make the most difference, where I can really learn the city and figure out where I can add value and just, spend some time. But essentially, I'm very excited because Baltimore is a place that has a lot of kids who need help, a lot of people who need help. And, just to me, I feel like when people need help, that's when it's easy to step in and do something. When you can see it, it's right there in front of your face.
So you brought up the football thing. We do want to get back to that. So I do want to ask you some more football questions here too. But I'm curious from you. So since you joined the Ravens, what have your impressions been of Lamar? I know you met him at the Pro Bowl, I'm sure, but what do you think of him now that you've met virtually at least?
He's hungry. The guy is he's very gifted and he's a hard worker. I think that's one of the things that I think it kind of goes underrated on a national scale. He's probably one of the hardest working people in the whole NFL. He wants to be the best, and he has a big chip on his shoulder, and he's driven. And I haven't had a lot of interactions with him, so far this season, or with the offseason program. But in my few times of really talking to him, I just see a guy who wants it all. Who's willing to pay the price to get it all. And to me, that gets me excited because he has the gifts. It really comes down to, really sharpening those tools and making them the best they can be, so he can go out there and perform on Sundays. And he has great instincts. I seen him last year when I practiced against Baltimore in the preseason, and seeing him make throws from the pocket and just seeing that, that the growth he's made from year one to year two. I can't wait to see the growth now in year three.
Well, you talk about kind of mentoring the young guys. Did you see Lamar's beach football, and did you say anything to him about that, Calais? About jumping over the
I figure he got scolded enough by the coaches, but seeing that definitely is like, we gotta be a little smarter than that. Good athlete, you avoided some serious harm there, but we don't even cut it that close, But that's part of growing up, and he still is a young man, and he's gonna grow and mature a lot. And that's going to be fun to see because, he's just scratching the surface of how good he can be. He has a lot of room for growth, and, hopefully he grows a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, you said that you can tell that he's just driven and hardworking. Like, how can you, I'm interested to hear, what is it about the conversations you've had with him that make you feel like, oh man, this guy wants to go win it. Like, he is motivated and he's determined to go get it done.
Yeah. You could just tell by the way, he shows up and is prepared, the way he communicates, the look in his eyes, really. I feel like the look in the eyes is probably the best way to tell what a guy's really about, because I feel like the lies, you really, it's hard to lie to a guy when you look in his eyes. But to me, I just feel like, I see a guy who is, who's hungry and has a chip on his shoulder. And so, I guess it's kind of hard to explain, and I hope I'm right. I think I am. In time we shall see.
Hey, I'm curious one thing, Calais, before we let you go. Where are you, and how do you go through moving a family to get ready for a season when there's so much uncertainty?
Yeah, it's been unique. It's hard to go and find places with everything going on right now. So I'm currently still in Jacksonville. I thought I had a place in Baltimore lined up, but I'm still searching for a place actually. So there's a couple options. So we'll get one here pretty soon. But essentially, I got to depend on other people to help out. Especially like when my wife having a baby boy, I feel kind of bad. But her parents are going to come down and help, and and we got movers and all that good stuff. But essentially, it's just different. Having to prepare to go to to a new team with all this other stuff going on, and also having a newborn son. And then having to move everything, pretty much pick up and move everything. But, I can handle it. It's going to be just something to do.
Did you tell the seller's agent that you're Calais Campbell? Did that come up at all?
No,
Please, I gotta hold that place for you.
Yeah, I try to stay low key. I try to stay low key, man. So I don't really name drop too much. I just try to take it as it goes.
You don't want to get. I don't know who outbid you. What teammate of yours is outbidding you for your house? Because you got beef now. It sounds like.
That's so.
Before we let you go, we do want to share with you, and I don't know if you've seen this yet, but we have your Madden ratings.
Oh yeah. I got a text. My homeboys, he texts me.
Okay.
I feel like it's kind of interesting because I've always followed Madden ratings. I mean, I'm a big sports fan. I've always played the game, and I feel like I was trending in the right direction. And as soon as I turned 30, they just brought me back down. It's the first time in a while they brought me back up, closer to where I should be. I think I wouldn't mind a couple more points there, but 95 isn't too bad.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Calais.
It's awesome to catch up, and we do hope we get to meet in person sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a tricky year, but whenever we do meet, I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you, Calais. Well, really happy to have Calais on. Just good stuff, man. Good player, good guy. I like him. I am legit excited to meet him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's going to be a stud for this defense. I think, like he said, I'm just so I have such high hopes for this team this year that I'm like, we need to get to football season. It needs to happen. There can't be any stoppages, anything like that. Like, we need football season to go off without a hitch, because I really think that this team has all the tools and all the pieces to win it all. So I'm with him on that 100%. But before we wrap up, I want everyone to know that with every new season, there's new challenges to overcome, and Ram trucks are built to crush every one of them. They're powerful, dependable. They're the back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. But beneath that hardened exterior, the Ram 1500 offers a standard of comfort with rear legroom designed for a comfortable lead, and the available rear auto-leveling air suspension system found in the Ram 3500 is beyond smooth. For big cash allowances and exceptional lease offers, go to ram.com today.
Garrett, can you explain what half of that stuff means in there? The rear auto-leveling suspension system?
I'm not a mechanic.
Know what that means?
I don't know what all that stuff means, but it sounds good. It's enticing.
Sounds luxurious.
To go buy a Ram.
I could see Calais driving a Ram.
Oh, I'm
Big
sure.
Guy, although, does the Ram hold a car seat pretty well? I don't know. I guess so.
Yeah.
Right? If it's got the leg room.
Yeah. I could tell there's plenty of leg room. There's plenty of.
Where's the part in the ad about the car seat?
I don't know.
Here?
I'm not sure if they needed that in there. I mean, I'm sure that if we want to get an updated version that includes the car seat, I'm sure they could get that added. But yeah, really good stuff from him. Also, for next week, for anyone, we have a really interesting podcast coming next week, which is we had fans from all over the world, literally all over the world, join us for an international podcast. And we're going to run that next week, which should be really cool. And we really enjoyed that conversation. So we've got that one in the hopper coming for you guys next week. So thank you to Calais for joining us today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And we will be back with you next week.